Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 3-0 Take, where we talk all things Major League Baseball. Here's Kyle Corwin and Nate Reyes. It all starts right now.
Welcome back to the 3-0 Take, presented by Chinook Ceadery. This is episode 591. I'll be your host, Kyle Corwin, and I'm here with Josh in the corner. Josh in the corner, no longer in the corner, at least for today. Nate is out struggling.
Struggling.
I won't go into details, but he's at a conference, and we'll just say that, you know,
When in Rome?
one in Rome, I guess.
Okay.
So he's laying low. He's in bed early, trying to sleep some things off, I guess. But he sent me his thoughts on what we're really going to be getting into here right off the top, the Cody Bellinger news. But before we do that, I just want it on record so that when it happens, we can come back to this moment. I told you, Josh, before we hopped on, that I had a strong feeling that something was going to happen during this recording.
Yeah, you did.
And I still stand by that. And mere seconds after I said that, no, we'll go minutes. Mere minutes after I said that,
Maybe minutes.
maybe a minute after I said that, some things started heating up a little bit on the trade rumor wire a little bit. So we shall see. But welcome everyone. Welcome Josh. Welcome from being out of the corner.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here.
Big screen.
Big screen. How about that? Let's get into this Cody Bellinger talk. Belly and the Yankees in agreement on a 5-year, $162.5 million contract. I'm glad this is over. This was one of the most pointless standoffs I think we've seen in recent memory. Like, I don't believe, unless that Belly waited this out until mid-February when the Dodgers presumably would have just gone and snagged him. I think this, as I was saying, this is just one of the more pointless standoffs I've remembered in recent memory, because this is where Cody Bellinger was going to start 2026.
This is where certainly felt that way.
This is where he was going to start at least the next 4 years. There was no question. And the posturing from Boris with the 7 years. No, he was never getting 7 years. I mean, no disrespect to the 2019 MVP, but he was never getting 7 years. So the Yankees, credit, hey, you know what? Tip of the cap. Credit to the Yanks for standing strong on that front, sticking it back to Boris a little bit, I guess, saying, no, we're capping it at 5. And they're like, okay, we'll meet you at 5. And so the details of the deal, what we know now are that it includes opt-outs after the second and third season, $20 million signing bonus, and a full no trade clause. Josh in the corner, how do you feel about this?
I'm surprised. I thought the Yankees would get aggressive here, because I felt like they almost had to. This is the signing they absolutely had to have.
Aggressive as in
I thought they
overpay?
would go. Yeah, I thought they would go AAV a little bit higher. We heard rumors of 37 million, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I don't know who they were up against. It felt like no one. It felt like specifically because he just wanted to stay there, and they were just trying to get more out of the Yankees. So I okay, in the group chat I put this out there, right? They say that one F WAR is worth $8 million on the free agent market. In the last 3 years, he's averaged, I think, what was it, $3.8 million or 3.8 WAR. I'm sorry, it was like a 4 and then a 2 and then a 4, something like that. So on average, like, he's worth around $30 million, if that. if that holds up, like whatever that was, like almost four WAR or something like that. So 32.5 million a year, not that far off there. So I don't feel like they had to go like when we're looking at Bichette signing for 42 million, right? And we're looking at Kyle Tucker for 57. We're not in that realm of things. So I don't feel like they had to go astronomically too far, especially only going 5 years. Now, if they'd have gone 7, then that AAV's got to come down a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't think they needed to get in a bidding war with themselves, and I think they knew that. And like I said, credit to them for holding strong on that, because we all know Boras can be a little bit of a bully. And you know what? I think the Yankees finally, because I feel like we haven't seen much of a backbone from the Yankees in recent years, or at least specifically the front office. Good on them for holding strong.
Do you have Nate's thoughts? I'm really eager.
Yeah, no, I just pulled him up. No, nothing extensive. I just told you 3 quick thoughts. He really must be hurting, because I saw he was typing for a good while, and then it just went away, and then he just shot me 3 bullet points. He said, first point, glad it's only 5 years. Second point, they're probably going to trade for a starter now. Third, the news cured my hangover. So, well, there he said it, not me. So he's the one that put it out there. That is ultimately why Nate couldn't make an appearance. We were going to try to phone him in. I did have the idea right before he hopped on. I was like, hey, maybe we try to phone Nate in. And then he said he was already in bed. So alas, here we are, sans Nate. But those are his thoughts on the deal. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how he was going to respond to this deal. Had he mentioned before that he particularly wanted Belly, or that he cared all that much if he ended up in the Bronx or Queens or whoever else was potentially in on him?
I feel like most of with him, I'm not really sure, but I feel like most Yankee fans were just kind of like, I'm not even thinking about it because that has to get done. And then we want something else. You know what I mean?
That's kind of like us with Bregman. Oof. It's like that's not, you can't even. So yeah, I guess I understand it from that point of view from Yankee fans, where it's like it's not even really an addition, because he's already here in our minds. The same thing was with Bregman. It was like, you can't call Bregman your middle of the order big bad addition, because he was just here. So it's Bregman and then what else? And then for Yankee fans, I'm sure it's okay, it's Belly and then what else?
Same with Schwarber and Philly.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep. Although I guess, I don't know, maybe that was a little different because I don't know. I feel like his interest was being pulled, or attention, I should say. His attention was being pulled from all sorts of directions. I don't know that we could say the same for Belly. No. I don't think.
Didn't feel that way.
Yeah, it didn't feel that way. I don't know what strings Boras was pulling behind the scenes, but it did not feel like the same market really at all existed for Bellinger in that sense. But
we have a deal, by the way. Passing, hit refresh.
Hold on.
We have a deal.
Was I right?
The New York Mets have acquired. You want me to go with it?
I'm hitting refresh. Where is it?
Passing. Freddy Peralta.
There it is. What a call. What a call. What a call. And almost overnight, it seems like we, and when I say we, I won't loop you into this, but I feel like Nate and myself have to eat crow. I feel as though the Mets have really shoved it back in our face, because I feel like let me clarify. This is just speaking for myself. I'll let Nate address it at a later time if he chooses. I still stand by the fact that I feel like it's directionless spending.
Oh, 100%.
However, and obviously this is a trade. This wasn't even spending, but this is more so in relation to Bichette and things like that. Because like you and I were talking about, guys playing out of position. That and my point was the roster that they've constructed is the type of roster you would expect to see in late September when guys are banged up and you're just trying to make it to the finish line of getting things started with the postseason. You're like, hey, some guys may have to slide over to some new positions. They're like, no, let's just roll with what we've got for opening day. But while I think it is still directionless a little bit, they're at least addressing some holes. They needed an arm.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's safe to say this is probably the best fit of their recent moves.
Yeah.
Well,
So I mean,
I guess
it's
one we talk about.
Yeah, we still got another name to get into, but they are addressing holes at the very least. Now, it's a whole nother topic of discussion if these are even good fits, if there's going to be chemistry that is created from this. It's hard to tell. This is a hodgepodge bunch, but you can add Freddy Peralta to that mix. But let's let some details of that trickle in. Let's switch to the name that I was prepared to talk about next. Great transition here, given the news. Luis Robert Jr., the New York Mets. Was this yesterday? They are starting to run together. Was this last night?
I almost feel like it was earlier today, but it might have been last night.
Or was it today?
I feel like it might have been today.
No, this was yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this was yesterday. Mets acquired Luis Robert in a trade with the White Sox. Yeah. Another situation, another scenario in which I'm glad it's done. It's over, because this was a situation where I feel like we've heard Luis Robert's name for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Being floated out there. And I'm like, I don't care. He could end up with the Yankees. He could end up with the Mets. He could end up with the Marlins. I don't care. I just want him to get out of Chicago so we can stop talking about it. Otherwise, keep him put and just keep him there. Like the floating conversation got to be just too much. So I'm glad they finally cut ties. Going back to Chicago in the return, Luis Angel Acuna and right-hander Truman Pauly.
I think he was like a 12th round pick last year.
12th round pick out of Harvard. I don't really know what grade to give this trade, because you have to look. I know. You're gonna jump immediately on the fact that he's just not healthy. I wasn't
going there yet, but it's coming.
I'm gonna take the positive route and choose to look at the ceiling that exists. It's relatively high when all things clicking. You're getting a star player when he's right.
Which has happened once.
Like I said, though, I know you're gonna drill down on the lack of health. However, like we were talking about before I hopped on, I'm a big believer in the change of scenery, and not just from a performance standpoint. Ultimately that's what everything funnels down to at the end of the day, is what you're able to produce on the field. But a change of scenery can impact, in my mind, in my guesstimation, a lot of things. I think it can impact, your confidence. I think it can impact your outlook on a given season. It can impact the way you look back on the previous season, even. Like if you struggled last year, but you're like, all right, hit the reset button, hit the refresh button a little bit, and let's fix the issue. Let's figure out what went wrong. Get with a new coaching staff, a new training staff, even if health is in fact an issue. Maybe get some things ironed out, identify some things that maybe your previous organization couldn't, and next thing you know, you're right back to where you were at one point in your career. So I don't know. I'm gonna be optimistic about this deal. Granted, it's the Mets, so hopefully he just doesn't get lumped into the Mets being Mets thing. But
right,
individually in a vacuum, I'm looking at the Luis Robert deal with a good bit of optimism.
2023, 38 homers, played 145 games, 5.3 WAR. I mean, that's the ceiling. That's where you want the guy to be. It's a 130 OPS plus. That's his last season was his first, was his most. He played 110 games outside of 2023. So you want to look at the return where the White Sox are getting a draft pick from last year, which is a flyer, and Luis Angel Acuna, who really hasn't been able to put it together yet. That doesn't mean he's not going to. He absolutely still could. But the return here is so much different than when we started hearing Luis Robert rumors. They knew they weren't going to be good in 24. They knew they weren't going to be good in 25. They missed a real opportunity to trade this guy and change the way their franchise would be looking, maybe even going into 2026. At this point, the White Sox saved $20 million. That's it. $22 million because there's a buyout next year. That's all they did. I'll ask you, you think they spend that $20 million?
No, probably not.
So they're just saving it.
Although I saw what's his name, Chris Getz, he said that they were going to be a quote aggressive. They're talking to multiple clubs now. I'm like, about what hot dog vendor to switch to? Because I'm certain that it's not about personnel. Although I will say, inherent disrespect when talking about the White Sox, deserved respect, I would even say. However, I feel like they've got an interesting mix going into 2026. I'm not thrilled about it, but right. I'm not so down in the dumps as it relates to what the White Sox are bringing to the table for opening day.
There are some shadows of building blocks you're going to start seeing showing up, for that team. I don't know how much of it I think is, I don't know. I don't know how much of it is good now. But there's certainly, they've traded enough pieces. They've done enough things. They've been, they've had the draft picks. There's going to be something that we're going to start seeing. Whether they finish it, whether they do anything with it is another question.
It's all about what are they going to do to capitalize. And you see so many teams amass this pool of talent to do nothing with. Then they just become the farm team for the rest of the league. And it's not just one or two teams doing that. There are many teams that I feel like do that. And it's going, not that we have to go down this rabbit hole, but it goes back to the conversation of what is this CBA going to look like? What are these conversations going to look like? And the people, I don't know, man, people are just going to have to start pulling their weight. These owners, I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say. I don't know how many times I can say it. I don't know how many different ways I can say it, but that's the reality of it.
How about the other side of this thing? The fit with the Mets. So I will say this, because you did mention not necessarily spending, but even trades are spending. And this is actually a really good example of that, right? He's got a $20 million contract. The Mets are at the place with the luxury tax where the tax is 110%. So they're not paying $20 million for Luis Robert to maybe work out. They're paying $42 million for Luis Robert. It really, when he's not getting that money, but essentially it costs them $42 million. Is that accurate? Is that, am I there? I think so. Anyway.
Yeah, it's 40. Let me confirm. Yeah, 42.
Yeah, because it's 100. It's because it's 110%.
Yep.
And then the same thing with Bo Bichette. We're approaching 90 million. Bo Bichette this year is costing them $88.2 million, and he's going to play a position he's never played.
That's sorry, I'm just getting this Peralta graphic out. No, but that's what I was saying. That you see the Luis Robert, you're like, oh, that's so nice. You see the Peralta trade now. It's like, oh, that's nice.
Right.
But then you go back to some of these more like literally 70, like what, 48 hours, 72 hours ago. And you're going, this construction doesn't really make sense. But then you bring in, but then on the flip side, you go back to my point about, well, now it seems like they're addressing some of the more glaring holes that they needed to fix. And you bring in a guy like Luis Robert. Now you bring in a front end rotation guy in Freddy Peralta, albeit for a year. I don't know. 2026 isn't looking as dire or even head scratching as it did maybe 72 hours ago.
Let me ask you this. Who hits more home runs this season? Peter or the combination of Bichette and Polanco?
Is this like a Billy Bean Moneyball? Like, let's create him in the aggregate situation?
No,
I'm
saying,
is this what you're asking me?
Do you think that there's a chance that Pete Alonso out homers the two corner infielders for the Mets in Polanco and Bichette that they've just acquired to replace one guy? I think there's a chance that if Peter hits 50, that both of these guys don't get to 25.
Yeah.
There's a chance that, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. I still question really. I think there's just weird things with this team, like why it was personal. The guy who was your franchise leader in home runs, it seemed like the most like obvious thing to bring him back when you're just spending money to spend it. And I don't know why. Like, we just want to not like him. And when he's on the Mets, that's really easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a guy is just straight up cornball. I mean, there's no getting around it, but yeah, man, all in all though, this has been such a fascinating offseason for the Mets. There's really no other way to explain it. I don't know. But like I said, like if this is where you call it, you're like, okay, that was the last bullet we had in the chamber. It's like, that's a pretty good offseason. Now, mind you, another guy that was tied to them, Framber Valdez, is still out there.
What's going on?
I don't know. Oh, I think we very, very clearly know what's going on there.
Did you hear about the video? Did you hear about that? Framber Valdez put together a 20-minute
punching somebody?
No, he put together like a 20-minute video of like who he is or something like that. And I feel like it's in direct relation to like, this is who I am. This is where I came from. This is how I was raised. This is how I made it to this spot and that spot. And it almost feels like they're trying to, like, him and his camp are trying to maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say
image repair.
Yeah. It just seems, yes, absolutely. Because there has to be some sort of hesitance from these clubs to say, I don't know how far I want to go with this. The guy just drilled his catcher this year. Yeah. And there's been other things said.
It's so easy, I feel like, for somebody to look at that and be like, come on, man, you're not going to sign this guy, or you're not going to pay this guy the money that he's asking for because of that incident. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to minimize that incident when you have to take into account that this guy's going to be around the rest of your ball club for 162 plus games. Like,
for how many years too?
That's not something you can just brush under the rug. Like, that's a big character thing, man. And like, I get it. Fuses can be short. You lose patience, but you don't take it out on your guy in that sense. Like, even if it was a scuffle in the dugout, whatever, that happens all the time. Don't care. That wouldn't if I'm the one with the checkbook, that's not impacting my decision on whether or not to bring in Framber, because guys do that all the time because you're around each other more than your own family. Like, of course you're going to get into it, right. But to do it the way to let that display of frustration play out the way that it did. Yeah, if I'm the, like I said, if I'm the guy with the checkbook, that's absolutely impacting my decision, because that's just that's not something you can take lightly.
That video is crazy too, because he looks cold after he hits him. Just turns his back on him.
Oh yeah, man, that was sick. But yeah, I don't know, man.
At the same time, in the last 4 years, only Logan Webb has thrown more innings than Framber Valdez, and he's got like a 3.20 ERA over those 4 years. So somebody's got to be like, listen, we got to just fit. You got to believe in your club to be able to figure it out, because we need that guy on the mound. But it does, until the Peralta trade, it had the Mets written all over it.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know that I can rule it out, because that seems like a perfect fit for the hodgepodge bunch that is the New York Mets. A talented bunch, but
sure,
let's just call it what it is. It's a hodgepodge bunch.
I would say that personally, I'd root for the sport to get him onto a club that can maybe calm that down or whatever, and make it a non-issue anymore, and then let him go out and just be the dude that he is.
Like I hope that when people hear me say that, they're not looking at that and be like, oh, Kyle's just done with him. It's like, well, I wasn't thrilled about it. And I think it's an important thing that needs to be, considered and addressed. But I'm also not going to just write the guy off completely. Like, if he can go out and sort of show like, hey, that, not my brightest moment. And like you said, go out and be a dude for somebody else and provide meaningful contributions to a team that can go on and do something. That's cool. That's fine with me.
32.
I would root for that.
If you give him, I mean, at this point, I'd feel good about 4 years. But it's just all a matter of fact of like, you got to hear the Morgan Freeman. I'm a rehabilitated man.
That's such an interesting situation for him. It's like he wasn't swept up in like a cheating scandal. He wasn't busted for BEDs. It's like, you would presumably hear it from fans, but if you had no idea, like, as to the backstory of what happened, you'd be like, why? If you're just like a new baseball fan, you're at the ballpark, and you're like, why are we booing this guy? And having to explain that situation, it's just going to be an interesting thing. Speaking of booing, I saw some Phillies fans, bringing it back to the Phillies here real quick, because I don't want to give them the pass. I saw some Phillies fans talking about how they plan to boo Bo Bichette.
Oh,
going back to the Bichette thing, they plan to boo him whenever they cross paths. And I'm like, he was never a Philly. This wasn't Shohei tracking a flight to Toronto caliber news, like, this was just the Phillies thought they had a done deal. Bo, like you and I were talking about, I think I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and assume that everybody had the best of intentions going into that night, that evening, where we all think that Bo's waking up a Philly, and then here comes Uncle Stevie from the clouds swooping him up. It's like, okay, why are we what's with booing Bichette? And then that leads to a bigger point of discussion here with Dave Dombrowski in the aftermath of the Bichette, or missing out on Bichette, I should say. But he was quoted as saying, "We're content with where we are." And this falls in line, I think, with the Bichette situation, the Luis Robert Jr. situation, because they've been tied. Luis Robert's been tied to the Phillies and vice versa for the last 2-3 years.
To be fair, he's been tied to a lot of teams.
That's fair, but Philly just seems like a fit, a fit that actually made sense, and not just a team that wanted to express their interest. Something the Red Sox love to do. The quote though, we're content with where we are. How are you feeling about that? Because the way that I read that is how content can you really be if you were trying to bring in Bichette's bat?
Right. I've heard some of Phillies fans kind of wondering if Bichette was the right fit in the first place. A little concerned about third base in general and what that did to their infield. It's still, the bat is still so much better than what they have. Bohm's on the last year of his deal. It still made a lot of sense to do it. And that's just one guy. I don't know. I don't know. I think they've got a situation there where they have a really good team that just continues to fall just short. And it's not like they're returning everyone here. They are losing Ranger Suarez in that rotation. If they're literally not, what is the additions? Are there any now? I don't think so. They still need a right-handed bat in the outfield, but are they just going with Rojas?
They got Adolis Garcia,
Right.
which I feel like just gets lost in
Yeah,
the
for
moves
sure.
of this winter.
Well, he had a down year last year too, so it doesn't feel as impactful.
Yeah. You bring back Schwarber, Trey still there, obviously Bryce still there. Bohm is up in the air. Who's to
But
really
he's there
say?
right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Who's to really say if he's going to be there opening day? Like I could easily see Davey D. I mean, I don't think he succumbs to fan pressure very much. But with the way that this offseason has gone and seeing his other NL counterparts just doing what they've been doing, I could easily see him making I won't go as far as to call it a panic move, but I could see him just trying to get one last deal in before the buzzer, if you will, and maybe flipping him for something. Because I mean, there's some teams out there that could use a third baseman, but I don't know if that ends up getting done. And if it doesn't, okay, that's another piece that you've had for the last handful of years that's coming back where you weren't able to really shake up positionally.
What about like a poker face? Like, what if this is just, hey, we're content where we are. We don't need to make a move. And yet you've had some conversations maybe earlier in the winter or something with a team about a third baseman, and you'd send Bohm the other way to take third base there, but there would also be some prospects on the way over as well. So maybe you kickstart those conversations back up. Third baseman for third baseman. I'll throw a few prospects your way for this guy who has control or is under contract or something like that. And maybe just playing like, we'll go into the year with Bohm, but I don't know. Then
I mean, maybe, but it's just tone deaf to me. Like,
yeah,
you miss out on Bichette. Well, I don't remember. Was the quote after the Luis Robert deal? I'm not sure, but it's like you miss out on a couple guys that I think fans were really hoping for. I'm sure the front office was hoping for, but you just don't, like, even if you feel that way, like if you're trying to, posture yourself for the rest of the league and not, show your hand, fine. But you don't say that at this point in time. Because nothing good can come out of that.
Maybe
unless you are absolutely, to your point, if you have a move up your sleeve, unless you are absolutely certain that you can make that happen. And it has to be, I would venture to say it has to be soon for people to not really, put too much stock into this comment, because I feel like this is a pretty, that's a tough line to drop.
Well, it getting down to the wire anyway. Soon is going to happen. We're getting there. But the other end of this, maybe there is a point where he's not confident that he can get a deal done, and he just wants to instill that confidence in Bohm because he knows we failed and we need him to step up. The last thing I want him coming into spring thinking is that we spent the whole winter trying to trade him.
They were doing that last year.
I know. So
there's
maybe
no confidence that you can instill in this guy.
Yeah,
like
any
like significant contributions you're going to get from him, it's going to be out of spite. it's not going to be because, well, Davey D really believes in me. He's decided to stick with me this year. It's
That
like,
doesn't
no,
mean
you were
he wouldn't
very
try that.
you were very clearly on the way out, and we just hit a couple snags, and some guys ended up going elsewhere that we were hoping to bring in.
Third base is tough right now. There's not a lot out there. I mean, even when people are saying that they missed out on Moncada, that's a bad free agent class. So it has to be trade, right? I mean, it would almost have to be. I guess the other angle you could say is, well, if we just pay Bohm this year and then we don't have a 2027, then we're covered. But the Phillies also can just pivot or can punt on third base, and they can compete in free agency next year because they just always can. I don't know. Maybe Bo opts out. And now you have another chance.
Maybe. But, I feel like there are way worse options.
Yeah.
To go into 2026 with at third base than Alec Bohm. Like I hear what you're saying about like punting, but Phillies, you talk to some Phillies fans and you're like, this guy is the worst. It's like, relax. Like he's going to be serviceable. He's been through the ringer in Philly. We'll just say that. Like he's had a tough go of it, but I think all in all, the fact that he's still standing, the fact that he's ready to, I guess, lace up for another year in the bank. Like I don't know. I wouldn't be all that disappointed. If I'm a Phillies fan, sure, I'd be disappointed if you thought maybe this was the year you finally get a fresh face at third and maybe somebody who's significantly better. But if I'm a Phillies fan, I'm not like losing sleep over the fact that this is your third baseman.
Nope. I'm with you.
Anyways, all right, we covered Cody, we covered Lou Bob, we covered Framber. Did we cover Peralta at enough length? I know we were waiting for some things to trickle in, but I haven't seen much differently.
It looks like the return. I mean, you could talk about the Brewers here. I mean, this is the team who won the most games in baseball last year. They're getting Jet Williams, a shortstop prospect, and Brandon Sproat. I'm not really sure. I'm not familiar with Brandon Sproat, so I will look him up. But looks like he debuted last year. Pitcher, started 4 games for the Mets, 20 innings. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know what his deal is. I haven't followed him. I think I do recognize him now that I see his Baseball Reference picture. And the pronunciation on Baseball Reference actually says rhymes with boat.
Love that.
Rhymes with boat. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, knowing the Brewers close in my division here, he's probably going to win a Cy Young this year. That's just what they do with all of their acquisitions. It's absolutely ridiculous. I would imagine he's probably in the Fangraphs is pretty quick with this stuff. I bet they've got him in the rotation already. They don't even have him on the roster. So I don't really know, but
man, you just laid one up there for Fangraphs.
I did. Well, they have Peralta. They have Peralta already in the Mets rotation.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure. They have him in AAA. He's on the roster there. 25 years old. And Jet Williams is not on the 40-man yet. He's still 22, but big prospect. So I'm sure he'll be a superstar. Like I said, everybody that they do this. I mean, Caleb Durbin comes over from the Yankees and tears up, gets Rookie of the Year votes. It's what they do. It's what they do in Milwaukee. Some kind of devil magic up there. So I actually can't. I don't have it in me to doubt the moves that they make because it always comes back in my face.
Yeah, it's tough when you're. I mean, no disrespect. It's tough when you're a Pirates guy and you're constantly punching up. You know, that's tough. But I respect you for taking the shots that you do take because I know that's a tough spot to be.
It's, you're the laughing stock of baseball right now. It's the weirdest feeling because I do feel like when I'm talking to most people, I'm like defending my team. But then when we're talking about our team, we're yelling at them. So like it's like you can't make fun of my brother. Only I can make fun of my brother.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel that. Let's talk a couple items here. Closing the book. Hall of Fame. Carlos Beltran, Andruw Jones, joining Jeff Kent. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot Jeff Kent got voted in. When I was going through and I was like reading more into it, I'm like, oh yeah, Jeff Kent's gonna be there in July. Class of 2026. I'm indifferent about the Beltran news. I was pumped for Andruw Jones, man. I feel like this is a guy that I just feel like this took way longer than it needed to. And one of the talking points I always come back to with Andruw Jones is, and I know Gold Gloves have lost meaning over the years.
Unfortunately,
but such a great award. The trophy itself is fantastic, but it just means nothing now, sadly. But historically, players with at least 400 homers and 10 Gold Gloves in Major League history: Willie Mays, Mike Schmidt, Andruw Jones, and Ken Griffey Jr. And we had to wait. And we had to wait this thing out.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
What are you fact checking me here?
No, I was fact checking me because I was about to say, and maybe someday Nolan Arenado, he does have 10 Gold Gloves. I thought he did, but he could get to that 400 homer mark too.
What's he at?
353.
Wow.
Yeah. So listen, center field is the position on the field. I know you could make a case for shortstop. You could make a case for catcher. That's for different reasons. Center field, I mean, Ken Griffey Jr., Willie Mays, it's the whole thing. Since 1980, it's Junior, it's Puckett, is that right? And it's Andre Dawson who played some center field. That's literally it going into the Hall of Fame since 1980. How are like, where's Kenny Lofton? Let's get him in. Are you for that?
I admittedly, I'd have to take a closer.
Sure,
I don't want to.
Fair.
I just want to throw that out there.
I put you on the spot there.
I'd have to take a closer look at the numbers. I mean, Kenny's near and dear to my heart because I mean, we're getting into. It's sad, man. Like we're now getting into like our era of guys that we grew up like watching all the time, going to see. Like it's, man, we're getting old. But where was I going with that? Oh, the biggest hang up that I feel like a lot of the writers had was, let's talk about the decline in the back end of his career. It's like, pick a lane. Like,
right.
If a guy doesn't play long enough to amass the counting stats, then how are you going to penalize a guy that sticks around what you consider too long? Like, what's the secret sauce? Like, what's the recipe? How many years is a guy supposed to be in the league for these writers to be like, okay, this is the sweet spot that we're looking at. We can vote this guy in with 100% confidence now because he played the right amount of years. It's like, he was clearly good enough to be employed by a major league team, and not to mention was one of the best to do it for a good portion of his career. So what took so long?
He had less games, but he had some still decent numbers later in his career. But, Jaws, Baseball Reference uses Jaws and all that stuff for Hall of Fame standards and things like that. And, I mean, they use the 7-year, 7-year peak? 7-year peak of 46.4 WAR, and the average Hall of Fame center fielder 44.6. There's a lot of numbers that favor that. It's the longevity ones that he falls a little bit short of, but still 62.7 WAR. It was a good peak where he was one of the best. The question I had and the thing that gave me pause, and I always thought that Andruw Jones should be in, but like there is that star factor. This is the Hall of Fame. And so there's got to be a time when, as one of the criteria to get in, where you felt like he was the best player or one of the best players while he was playing. And I think that that's a tough thing for a lot of people because he often wasn't the best player on his own team. And that was hard. And so because he got outshined, that it may, and not to mention on his own team, but in center field, playing at the same time as Ken Griffey Jr., and so like he got outshined quite a bit, but you've got to be able to get past that at some point. Like he still was considered, at least, I mean, you would have thought, right? He's one of the better center fielders in the league, one of the best. That's got to be part of this. I don't know where we get lost in that. And the center field thing really kind of gets to me is all of a sudden there's two center fielders. I don't know. I think that there is some writers who use things like this to push it down the line. Well, if we let him in right away, then that means this other guy that's playing right now is going to get in for sure. And I don't want him to feel like that. And I just feel like there's too much of that kind of stuff. That is like, is he a Hall of Famer or not? Why are we waiting 8 years?
I've been saying that forever. Like the strategy, the fact that these writers have to have a strategy for making sure they get the right ballot or the right votes on their ballot before a certain time runs. It's like, I understand having a guy on a ballot for X amount of years and wanting to ensure that you're dispersing your spreading your votes out the right way. But is there not a better system to where it can just dwindle down to the simple question of, is this guy a Hall of Famer or not? And not, will I still feel like this guy's a Hall of Famer in 5 years so that I can use this time
oh my goodness,
from now until then to divvy up some more votes? Yep. It's like, just put a guy in if he's a Hall of Famer. And for me, a guy like Andruw Jones was and is a Hall of Famer. I don't know. I don't know. No need to go on.
On the flip side, where are we at on Beltran? I want to know, like this, we're talking, it needs to be said, right? We're talking about a guy who was not only just involved in a trash can sign stealing, deal. Why I couldn't think of that word. Scandal. Thank you.
I was trying to give you a chance to figure it out.
He'll get it someday. But like this is the guy who was like the front runner. He was the leader of the whole thing. He was the only one that was really called out by name. He was hired as a manager and let go as soon as this thing broke. So this is a guy that is right in the middle of something that was clearly cheating. Where are you at on that? Because I think this is like integrity is part of the voting. And I don't know, man. Like, especially if, and it had to happen. Somebody didn't vote for Bonds and A-Rod and those types of guys and put in a vote for him.
I don't know, man. Like I've made my stance on the PEDs thing more than clear over the years, so I don't want to have to like bore the listeners with the same thoughts. But on the flip side, like, dare I say, in defense of those guys, it's like, okay, where does this where do we draw the line with a moral clause if we're putting a guy like Carlos Beltran in?
Right.
I haven't seen an answer. Well, I was given an answer. The fact that he's in the Hall of Fame is the answer. But
and what, 90% of the votes? Was it 90?
It's like 80.
80, yeah.
84. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that, I could make the case that he was a Hall of Famer before that scandal happened. But does that matter? Does it matter when it happened? Because then you could say, well, he was busted for PEDs late in his career, but he was clean the rest of the way. Or he was busted. The thing is like everybody post 2004, whether they're clean or not.
Right.
It's wild. But Where does that go with, I mean, how far do you go with it? We got guys that have admitted to using sticky stuff for a long time. You have Garrett Cole on a podium almost crying. Like, "Oh, how do you want me to hold the ball?" Like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, gee willikers.
but like, that's cheating. Where does that, and you know, obviously you're going to hear the arguments where like, well, look back in the Hall of Fame. We don't know who did what. We don't know who's clean, who's bad. Okay. But moving forward is the only thing you have an impact on. So I don't know. It's interesting. And Beltran's a weird one for me because I do feel like he was a Hall of Famer. But did that ruin it? And I'm surprised. I mean, they've already answered the question, like you said. But it is interesting, and I did not think that it would. I don't know. It's weird. I kind of fight with that a little bit. And
it's politics. It's personal vendettas. It's a whole mix of things, and it's, you know, in one breath you could say, well, that's what makes the Hall of Fame so just garbage. But on the flip side, if you're trying to spin it in a positive sense, you can be like, you know, that's what makes this game. It's not perfect. It never will be. I mean, it's perfect in the sense that it's, in my belief, the best game of all time. But it's, you know, it's not without imperfections, and those imperfections come to the forefront most, I think, when we're talking about Cooperstown and things like that. But I don't know, man. I've given up on trying to make sense of the decisions made by the voting panel. You know, I'm like that guy, that GIF where you've got strings and maps and question marks all behind you, and you're just trying to wrap your head around how did we get here, but how did we leave this guy behind, or what are we doing putting this guy in here, but you know, or why did it take this long? I don't know. I don't know.
I've heard the take in a podcast this morning. If anybody wants a volunteer to show up at the induction ceremonies and bang a drum or bang a trash can during his speech, look no further, that they can ask the person that was on this podcast. And I'll tell you what, I'd have a hard time. Like, I don't know. Go for it.
I don't want to open this. I don't want to open this can of worms, but I said like 2 or 3 years ago, I think at this point, that I'm over the, like, I still see it in the comments.
Yeah.
Like I saw somebody, I think I posted the graphic and some, like the fact that they had gotten voted in or whatever. And somebody in the comments was like, Beltran should wear his cap into Cooperstown. And he's put like the trash can emoji. I'm like,
that's funny.
I'm like, this has to be the end of at least for him. Like, I mean, you're not going to hear about Beltran anymore. Like once he gets in, like, and you're going to have another wave of it when Altuve decides to hang it up. And
I think that's what this is, right? If you don't let Beltran in, you can't let Altuve in. And I think that there's part of who's voting right now saying, well, we better just get out in front of this. Like you said, it does it count for anything that 2017 was Beltran's absolute worst year in the majors? He was 40 years old. It was his lowest WAR, it was his lowest OPS plus. Like, so, but he tacked on 14 homers.
A moral character clause is a moral character clause. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it goes back to where do we draw the line? But it's like, to me, it doesn't matter. Like if they're gonna, you know.
And I think you could also make a case for Jose Altuve in a separate instance when you have Carlos Beltran, who was the leader of this whole outfit, and then Altuve, who I think, you know, if they've looked at the tapes and it's like 11 pitches in his whole season, they hit a drum and he didn't swing in any of them, and he looked back angry. So he's guilty by association. He didn't stop it. That's where his guilt is. but Altuve actually was a better player on the road that year. He didn't want anything to do with that. So I guess there's an argument there, but you still didn't stop it. You're guilty by association for sure. I mean, if Joe Jackson's not in, sorry, buddy.
I saw a clip recently that had resurfaced. I don't even remember what the context of it was, but it was just a resurfacing of a clip of the banging.
Yeah.
I think it was, who was it? Who was the guy? There was a pitcher who ultimately
called it out,
called time. Yeah. And realized like, hey, we got to switch things up. I'm blanking on that. I literally saw this video like a couple days ago. But anyway, like you go back and watch it, and in real time, I'm sure obviously nobody thought anything of it because it took some time for this to, unfold. Not that we got to rehash the whole cheating scandal, but I saw the video and I'm like, knowing what we know now, that is egregious. Like, I don't know what they thought they were getting away with. Well, I mean, I guess they did ultimately get away with it, but like, surely there had to be some more sense in that dugout of like, hey, maybe we don't entirely get away with this when it's all said and done, because it was obnoxious. But anyway, we don't need to.
Farquhar.
Yes, that's who
Danny
it was.
Farquhar, yeah.
Yep, of the White Sox.
Of the White Sox.
Yep,
Him and the catcher got together, and what's it say? Kevin Smith, the catcher.
Because it was... he
called for a changeup, and he was like, dude, something's going on here.
It was what's-his-face up to bat. Was it Gaddis?
That's a good question.
Or not Gaddis.
Gaddis. Dang.
This is going to bother me now.
It doesn't say who was up.
Who was the... Who was it?
I don't know. It does not say who was up.
It was the big beefy guy that didn't wear batting gloves.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll get you. Oh man. It is Gaddis.
Was it Gaddis?
Well, Gaddis was on that team.
Oh wait, it's right here.
If that's who was up, I don't remember who was up, but Gaddis was on that team.
Yes, it was Evan Gaddis. That's what I said. I got to trust my gut more.
Yeah, you doubted yourself. You were there.
All right. Last item here, super quick, because we spent way more time on the Hall of Fame than I thought, but it was good. It was good conversation. Did not think I'd be talking Astros cheating scandal to this length today, but here we are.
Here we are.
Last note here, Yadier Molina being added to the St. Louis Cardinals front office as a special assistant to the president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom. Let's just get this man into a manager seat.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. I mean, sure,
I feel
fine.
like
We can wait this out.
Only going to happen with the Cardinals, right?
I feel very strongly about a team legend filling the shoes of the manager role. It's just risky. I mean, it pans out sometimes, but other times it can, especially when if you were good, but the fans were sort of indifferent about you, or maybe you had some issues flare up along the way that, force people to turn their shoulder a little bit on you. Okay. But when you're beloved, like I use the example all the time, like Jason Varitek, I never want him even thinking about becoming the manager of the Boston Red Sox because of how much he's beloved there. But the same applies to Yadier Molina. It's like,
yeah,
if it doesn't pan out well in St. Louis, it's not going to take away from your time there as a player, but it can really sour the legacy that you leave when you finally decide to leave for good. So I don't know, but
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oliver Marmol is still there.
Ollie Marmol, yeah.
Ollie, yeah.
Yep.
He's what, 4 or 5 years now? It's not been great. Could be setting it up for that. They've
I mean,
I don't understand the moves they've made right now, but they've essentially stocked a little bit down in the minors. They could take a big step back this year. And the way that professional sports are going right now, I mean, they could fire 3 managers this year somehow. Because everybody just wants to fire everyone now.
Which is crazy.
So he's getting canned and making room for Molina right before they start getting good, whether that's at the end of this year or if they wait out to see what happens with everything else, and then they'll bring Molina in to save the day.
Yeah, I mean, if this was the plan all along, so be it. Like, I guess we'll just have to, if it does go south, we'll just have to deal with the consequences of it as baseball fans and watch Yadi's legacy become tarnished. But if this truly is just like hey, he's gonna get some time around the front office, get some time under his belt of what it's like to be on the other side of the lines. Okay, then maybe we preserve that legacy a little bit and look elsewhere for some of these other teams to bring him on. But I don't know. Maybe
I like that.
The more I think about it, maybe he's just a Cardinal for life. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably
It'll be
makes more
like a
sense.
situation where if they ever do have to get rid of him, he'll like honorably step down instead.
Oh yeah, for
that
sure.
way they can be like, okay, I'd rather somebody else do this and make it better.
Yeah,
They'd find a way.
Yeah, they'll never fire him. They'll never fire him. It'll just be like
Right,
they mutually agreed to part ways kind of thing.
That's true.
Anyway, speaking of parting ways, let's get out of here. That was good. I said, hey, let's keep it brief, and I think we could have if we wanted to, but we took some rabbit trails and had some good conversation. Josh, it was a pleasure having you on the big square here, on the big screen here. Good stuff. Did we miss anything?
I don't think so.
I'm hitting the refresh. No other deals have gone down in the
was just doing that.
last 5 minutes. Jung-Hoo Lee detained at LAX. We didn't talk about that.
Well, that was right before we started. I said, Jung-Hoo Lee's been released?
Yeah, dude, this is a crazy headline. Giants Jung-Hoo Lee detained at LAX over forgotten documents, quickly released. The Giants are like, I don't want any part of this guy. Can't remember to bring his passport.
Get him out of here.
You're gone.
Oh,
yeah, that's
boy.
such a misleading headline. My goodness. Yeah, I bet Giants fans got real concerned there. But anywho, yeah, I think that was the only other thing of any real significance that we left off. But that'll do it. Got anything else? Are you ready to get out of here?
Ready to get out of here. Go baseball.
We love you all, and as always, looking forward to talking more baseball with you guys soon. Until next time, stay filthy.